Yes, Kenya. Tamu sana is tamu sana. Denis Itumbi exposes Orengo Deep State plans to weaken Raila Odinga. That's the title of this video. And we are just going to analyze that to see exactly what is happening behind the scenes. Since yesterday, Denis Itumbi has kept Kenyans waiting and some of his fans. Because yesterday, Denis Itumbi was to leak some information which he never did. And he promised to leak those information today. And actually, he has done that. And largely, if you go through the information, Denis Itumbi has leaked. It's mainly a propaganda, but with some elements of some distant truths in them. So in this video, I want us to have a look at that Denis Itumbi's post, after which we are going to see the propaganda in it and the elements of truth in it. It's a long post, and we are not going to go through the whole of it. We are just going to identify areas I feel are relevant for our discussion right now. Denis Itumbi. The Hustler Nation Intelligence Bureau, HNIB, has picked reports about disquiet in ODM over what is being described as a bullish Mount Kenya with little value addition. Number one, Raila's inner circle and top ODM party honkers claim Mount Kenya and State House have taken over Raila Odinga and he no longer knows how to say no. Number two, they blame Deep State and clueless Mount Kenya moguls for remote controlling Tinga. Close confidence and ODM strategists no longer have a say on his strategy and schedule. Number three, journalists told HNIB agents that unlike the past, his spokesmen have no grip on Raila's event and narrated several cases where the press team rushed to events after learning from them. Number four, and this is how now he brings in Orengo. Siaya Senator James Orengo is among those concerned, and in a conversation with his colleague in parliament, picked by HNIB agents, he lamented that if the state wanted to help Raila, they should have just facilitated him and allow him to be. 5. Orengo's fear is that those handling Raila are messing up with the Raila brand. I felt those were areas relevant for our discussion today. But even if you still go through some parts of that post, Denis Itumbi continues this way. Denis Itumbi states, Deep State is pushing out Passaris from Nairobi race. Deep State wants Maina Commander as the senator. Deep State wants non-ODM Mount Kenya candidate as Nairobi governor. Deep State wants Mount Kenya to control 60% of Raila's government. And then now, and finally, most ODM Nyanza legislators are now forced to take a backstage. That's the entire post. That's the entire post from Denis Itumbi. And largely, if you look at this post, it's mainly a propaganda, but with some distant truth. You know, Denis Itumbi is a William Ruto blogger, and actually the top blogger. And largely, he intends to persuade Kenyans to see William Ruto favorably by posting this. This post is not meant to make Raila strong, but actually to weaken Raila Odinga. And largely it's more of a propaganda, but with some elements of the truth. The propaganda in this whole post is that Denis Itumbi still continues with his narrative that the Deep State, State House, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is still weakening Raila Odinga. That is the propaganda. And now he's cleverly, indirectly bringing in Orengo into the picture. And it's now just stating that even James Orengo is also seeing that. He's seeing that the Deep State is actually weakening the Raila brand. That is largely the propaganda in this post. But where is the distant truth, or rather in this post? It might be possible that now the deep state has taken over. It has taken over in organizing Raila's campaigns and tours across the country. That sounds a little bit true. And then the second element of the truth, it's also possible that Nyanza leaders have now been told to stay away from Raila Odinga. That's also, it sounds a little bit it has some element of truth. And actually that's a good thing for Raila Odinga. Because for Raila's image, he should not be seen only being crowded by leaders from Mismo Nyanza. So if actually Deep State has done that, then Deep State has done the right thing for Raila Odinga. And even Raila supporters in Luo Nyanza, they don't want these leaders to be crowding Raila Odinga. They want Raila Odinga to be seen with other leaders outside of Luo Nyanza. And the mere fact that James Orengo might be complaining, in my considered opinion again, Orengo is of no value at all to Raila Odinga. In fact, Orengo might just be hanging on Raila's coat to remain relevant in Nyanza. So if Orengo was actually complaining, it might have been on a lighter note. Because before the handshake, Orengo and his ilk were really getting a lot of mileage by just being seen surrounding Raila Odinga every day. That was giving them mileage in Nyanza. But now they are being told to step aside a bit, I know they might be feeling some pain in Nyanza because now they are not getting the kind of mileage they might have wanted as a result of being seen to be accompanying Raila Odinga all over the country. So Orengo might have made the complaint, if at all he made it, but on a lighter note. Not that now it's a serious issue, Orengo is now complaining and getting concerned. It might have been on a lighter note. Yes, I believe, ladies and gentlemen, those are some elements of the truth that might actually be happening from behind the scenes, looking at this post by Denis Itumbi. And also on the aspect of Passaris being told to step aside, it might be true. It may or may not be true. And also Minor Commander being told, or rather being pushed to be the senator, it may or may not also be true. Yes, and that Mount Kenya wants 60% stake in Raila's government, that might also be true or not. So these are some elements of truth from that tweet. But the propaganda is that Denis Itumbi still perpetuates his narrative that Deep State Uhuru State House is still weakening Raila Odinga, and is now cleverly roping in James Orengo to maybe give his narrative some credence, or rather some credibility. What does this all mean politically? In my considered opinion, this post from Denis Itumbi fails to achieve its intended purpose. The intended purpose of this post was to cause some disillusionment among Raila supporters. Denis Itumbi wanted Raila supporters to feel sad, to feel bad that now Mount Kenya, Deep State, is now grabbing everything from Raila Odinga, and that now Raila is now held hostage. Denis Itumbi wanted to portray that kind of a picture. And he just wanted to make maybe Raila supporters feel a little bit disillusioned. But let me say this. Raila supporters, and I know a majority will agree with me, a majority of Raila supporters, they don't care whether Mount Kenya or the Deep State gets 100% in Raila's government. What Raila supporters care about is that Raila Odinga will be at State House. That is what Raila supporters want. So whether the Mount Kenya, whichever Uhuru, whichever State House, will take 100% in his government. As long as they can push Raila Odinga for Raila to be the president, Raila supporters have no problem. So Denis Itumbi, I tend to believe the intended purpose of Denis Itumbi posting this is failing to achieve its intended mission. It has backfired. They just, as I've been saying, this is a post that has backfired. It's not achieving its intended purpose. The purpose was to make Raila supporters feel sound, to see that now their money is under hostage. Raila supporters don't care whether Mount Kenya, Uhuru, gets 100% in Raila's government. All they want is for Raila Odinga to be at State House. The second thing I'm saying that this post might have backfired, Denis Itumbi is now alleging that now Raila's former strong men are now forced to take a backseat. And in this case, he is talking about Nyanza leaders. If actually Deep State is now telling leaders from Nyanza to stay away a bit, that's the best thing Deep State can do to Raila Odinga. Because actually it's helping in building Raila's brand. Raila is now not being seen as a Luo leader, but as a national leader. And actually, Raila supporters in Nyanza, they don't want these leaders to actually now be miling or crowding Raila Odinga. Raila supporters from Nyanza want to see leaders outside of Luo Nyanza actually accompanying Raila Odinga. So in one way or the other, this post by Denis Itumbi is also not achieving its intended purpose. Raila supporters actually are in support of the Deep State. If at all it's the Deep State that has told these leaders to stay away from Raila Odinga. Raila supporters, in my considered opinion, supports that. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that largely the propaganda is that Denis Itumbi is still perpetuating his old narrative that Raila is being weakened and is now cleverly bringing in Orengo into the picture. That is the propaganda. And the distant truth is maybe now Deep State House Uhuru might have now taken control of Raila's political campaigns and tours across the country, and maybe sharing of government and maybe other positions. Those might be some kinds of truth. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, before I conclude, if you've just bumped here for the very first time, kindly subscribe, give this video a like. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Kenya.